Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Jim.
Hello, Jim.
Hello, everyone. Hey, those of you who know me, you know what the drill is going to be. Zen clap if you've heard of a Zen clap. 1, 2, 3. Those of you who haven't heard of a Zen clap or didn't decide to participate, a Zen clap is a single clap that we all do together. So if I say, who has heard of a Zen clap, you have all heard one just now. So who has heard of a Zen clap? 1, 2, 3. What a team. Okay, so it's almost as if Chris knew what I was going to say. I love yellow. I don't wear this hat because I'm balding. I wear it because I got this hat in Panama when I was with Margaret Bates on a 3-year project. Zen clap if you remember Margaret Bates. 1, 2, 3. Those of you who don't know who she was, she's still alive, sorry, but she was someone who was focused on environment, sustainability, and the project we were working on was we. It's going to be funny because there's mice, now there's we, penis, absolutely. Who here does not know what we stands for? 1, 2, 3. It's like Zen clap. Right, we, waste electrical and electronic equipment. Your old TV, your laptop. The project we were doing out there was that we were working with academics to help support them and teach their students how to build businesses around reuse of equipment. People stripping power cables to get the copper out. I got this hat in Panama. It is an Ecuadorian hat. It is not a Panama hat. You've all now learned something from me, at the very least. But the point is, I wear this to remind me of those sustainability things. When I was wearing this hat, and I was seeing a child who was walking along a landfill site with smoke from tyres, they found a picture frame, and that was of value to them. So I'm very, very cautious about my use of AI. I do not go on it to make pictures of cats. I have 5 cats at home, and I've got great photos. I don't need AI to do something I already can do for myself. I want AI to be supportive of me and me to make critical decisions about when I'm going to use it. I don't think our students or our staff sometimes do that. I think there's going to be a range of people in this room who may be at different levels and concerns and considerations on it. And that's okay. I'm not going to stop you from your break, but I want to cover a lot of things very quickly. Okay? The first thing we want to talk about is, who here has heard of caves? Zen clap, 1, 2, 3. Caves. Colleagues against virtually everything. You all know one, you've probably been one at some point, but the point is, there are people who actively resist engaging with some of this. And if they actively resist in that, how are they supporting their students to know the ethical use? How are we educating the students in what we expect them to do with the AI? Freeform. Why do students cheat? Shout. Come on. Shout.
Can't be bothered.
Can't be bothered. Come on board. And everyone else, your students don't cheat. Perfect. It's sorted. Can't be bothered. Anyone else?
Under pressure.
Under pressure.
What do the students say?
Huh?
What do the students say?
No, that's, why do they cheat?
I don't know. Students.
Exactly. No, that's perfect. We don't know why they cheat. They've got a range of different things happening. They might be such high expectations of them from the family to achieve the grades, they will do whatever.
It's not going to college.
Say again?
They've been told they've gone to college.
Exactly. They're coming into the university with these beliefs about what they can or can't get away with, and that's perfect to move on to the next part of this. Then clap if you've used Microsoft Copilot. 1, 2, 3. Then clap if you have not used Microsoft Copilot. 1, 2, 3. So it's about even. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to take you through a quick demo. I'm going to come onto this laptop and I'm going to type Copilot. There. It's an embedded feature within Microsoft. Microsoft are rolling it out in all the different applications. Rob hinted at it earlier to say that we are part of a project with KPMG who have paid for us to have uplifted licenses. And I'll show you an element of that in a second. But what I want to be clear is that it's at their fingertips. It's at their literal fingertips. And we're trying to find ways of stopping them from doing it. My job as a learning designer is to work with staff on adjustments to assessments, thinking about what is the core point of the principle. If I ask you, and please be honest about this, and I was thinking about the way to phrase this. In the university strategy, we have a mention of trust. With trust comes honesty. Please be honest. Who here, and this is Zen clap, who here does not know what UDL is? Zen clap, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you ever so much. What is UDL? Now, one of the other issues, that was not a UDL approach. I assumed prior knowledge. I assumed everyone knew what UDL meant. So a student who doesn't know what UDL stands for in a classroom or any acronym might be legitimately wanting to find that out. Is that academic misconduct? Zen clap if you feel it is academic misconduct. Zen clap, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so where do we draw the line? How do we identify? How do we stop? This was the category 2. This is the assisted mode. I need clarification. You went too fast. You assumed prior knowledge in that session that we were in.
But that was Google before. Like, before you introduced this category, people used Google. You didn't have a category for it. So why didn't you have a category to say you use Google?
Exactly. Exactly.
The university introduced category.
Yes, but that's more about us setting the expectation of the assessment for the student. I don't want you to do
the door's subjective interpretation.
Exactly, and we can't contextualise that for your particular topic. You have to develop the confidence in understanding how can I use it within my environment. Again, me. When am I going to use AI? When can I do the traditional stuff? When can I do certain physical activities and practicalities that show the competencies? That's what we need to move to. Zen clap if you have not heard of the Natasha Aberhart case. Zen clap, 1, 2, 3. Okay, unfortunately, Natasha Aberhart was a student of physics who took her own life ahead of a presentation in class, like I'm doing now to you. The stress, the emotion, the pressure. The University of Bristol were taken to court but found liable. They were in a situation where they were putting her into a position where the learning outcomes didn't require her to develop presentation skills in front of peers. She could have done an alternative. Universal Design for Learning offers those alternatives. What is it you are actually testing? Is it testing the ability for the students to stand in front and communicate complex ideas? Or is it about the student being able to present their understanding of key ideas? We are adding stress and pressure onto students, not just in assessment volumes, in the skills that we mentioned earlier that are developed around. We should be looking at the competencies. What is it this person needs to be able to do? What is it that we want them to do? How can we look at our assessments and break them down in that way? That's a lot of pressure for you to start doing. So where are you going to get the support? Where are you going to get these ideas? What is an alternative assessment to a debate? I would see that as a legitimate work reason. I haven't got all the ideas. I don't know every single assessment type and ways of doing it. You're the experts. I've just got stories that I can pick out from other people and say, well, someone in this group did this. Have you considered this? A video assessment, a podcast. I don't know how to do that. Now, I want to bring that back to that concept of PAVES, colleagues against virtually everything. There are some colleagues, but that's not truthful. They're not against it. They don't know any different. They don't know that there are these possibilities. There's an element called sitting next to Nelly. It's a training aspect. You put someone in, sat beside the person who's got the most experience in the company, and they will teach that person everything they know. There's a ceiling to Nelly's knowledge.
I think one of the biggest fears that people have, Jim, is that when you start to do things like that, there needs to be time allocated within the teaching skill that students don't have.
Yes.
And time is the one thing that every member of staff is short.
You deserve a pencil for that, absolutely. So how do we get the staff? We give the staff time back. I'll come back to that because I want to address one other thing. Got 15 minutes. Who here believes in learning styles? Then clap 1, 2, 3. Okay, gonna blow your mind. What are learning styles? Oh, styles. Who picked it up? For those of you who know, you know this. Looking weird. Learning styles are a myth. There is no evidence to support them. But there's stuff in there. There's publications. There's thousands of publications that are out there around learning styles. They are all part of the data set of these AI. They are all over it. It's an inherent bias. Don't talk about hallucinations. Talk about factually wrong information that these things will spit out. So asking what learning styles are, that's fine. It will give you a definition. What is the current debate about learning styles? No strong evidence. Hang on, AI, you just told me what they are, and now you're saying there's no evidence for them. Can you see that you have to be cautious about what we're doing? But worse than that, we've got students who are coming into the institution believing in learning styles and thinking that, oh, there's too much reading. I'm an auditory, I never learned it. It's rubbish. I'm kinesthetic learner.
The student don't learn in different ways.
Universal design for learning is exactly about that. It accepts the fact that we're all individuals. I'm not going to say Zen Kappa, you're an individual.
Play cynic here, Jim. And that's like 10 years ago when UDL didn't exist and we all believed in Bach.
Yeah.
In 10 years' time, would we all not believe in UDL?
Well, I don't know. I still believe in neuroscience, so anything that's based on the human brain and the way that it functions and the cognitive processing goes on, it's a long established thing. We still talk about Freud, don't we? Do we? Sometimes.
You could put that into the AI.
What?
I reckon conversations around UDL, see what it says.
I'll tell you what, great idea. Copilot's installed on your laptop. Why don't you click on it and do it? Only if you feel it, I would say, please, only if you feel it adds value to your work, to your understanding. Said about things like generating pictures. I'm going to move this on very quickly because I want to make sure you have time for those pastries. Rob mentioned that we have a number of groups who are looking at AI. And in this group, let's go there. It's kind of the back end. We are trying, there's 100 licenses, 100 people trying to find different ways that people can use AI, the Copilot AI, within different products. So the idea is we are trying to establish what works, what doesn't work, what is useful for us. For me, I'm working on those data dashboards. I downloaded from ClickView. Here is information about the APP data related to quintiles performance in assessments. Looks at data, don't know what it means. Ask Copilot to do the interpretation. That really helped me clarify. What was I looking at? What insights might there be there? So that would be something that I would put into the Excel section. But what I want to show you is this. These are what are known as agents. So clap if you've heard of an agent. 1, 2, 3. People? Yeah.
Matrix agents.
Yeah. Think of it like that, but they're nice. Lots of the same things, multiple of them. Okay? What we've got here in the agency are a range of different, basically bots. Everyone know what a chatbot is? You've experienced that? You ask it a question, it will give you certain things. With an agent, I can have it say, for my own mental health, at 2 o'clock on a Monday, send me a picture of a cat on a circle. It'll do it, generate the image, send it to me and I'll go, oh, that's nice. A little bit of an uplift in my mental health. off I go. It does automated tasks. But the fact is, you are time poor as staff, as students. Bear with me. Keep wanting to touch the screen. Let's go with this one. Again, truth and honesty. ZenCap if you haven't read the university strategy document. ZenCap 123. Thank you for your honesty. Again, with the ZenCap, it's great. You can do it on the table. I won't even know. I looked at the ground. So, the person who clapped. This is an agent that only looks at the university strategy. Now you see what I did there? There was the agency, lots of different agents. I get to one link, so Rob's laptop, add, and we're there. People might not know about belonging. Belonging is part of it, you hear it in meetings. I'm just going to type in belonging. It's now looking through the university strategies, and it's going to come up with guidance. Things such as the importance of belonging. A strong sense of belonging leads to numerous positive outcomes, including improved mental health, reducing feelings of loneliness and isolation. That's taken from the university strategy. I like to think of belonging as a bubble. University is a bubble that we're trying to establish this belonging within, but we've got individual students with their bubbles. How do we get their bubble to connect with another person's bubble? So they feel part of this course. Part of this, I've probably burst a couple of bubbles with people who believe in learning styles. Is there a separation between us? The people who know and are joining, now we know we can start talking about these different aspects. I'll come to questions in 2 seconds. That's one example of an agent. The other agent I want to show you is this. And Lucy, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to type in a module code. SPO 1052. I said 0152, that won't work. See what it might do actually. So in fact, it said it couldn't find it. And now I'm going to do this. So as part of my job, I have to look at module specs all the time. I have to click on the link to SharePoint. I have to go from that link in SharePoint 5 folders down to get into the module specs of the particular level that I'm looking within the subject. I have to then go down that list and find that particular document that I want. If I don't want to view it or edit it online, I have to click on it and download it. Now I have to go to my downloads and to open that, and then I can see the document. This, I just type in the module code and this spits out all the information. Time saving, saving me hours. Miniature bits. I mean, I'm a big fan of 4-in-1. George Russell is talking about these tiny little changes. People talk about death by 1,000 cuts. There isn't the reverse of that. Improvement by 1,000 what? I don't know. Changes. Those little techniques, those tiny little things that could suddenly save us a huge amount of time. So you can concentrate on what you love. Teaching, building the education, the confidence. It's not about saying to students, you should use this stuff. It's about saying, let me just show you a different way. It may not be that your organisations, your businesses you're going into will have the knowledge of this. You could be the person who makes a difference and actually changes the income, not the income, but the improvements for that organisation. And that starts with us supporting our students to understand this. And again, I come back to it. There's enough cats on the internet. We don't need to see AI as just that. We go back to the reason for cheating. Why would a student want to cheat and use this when we can see that they can adjust and tell us where your challenges were. Tell us where you felt the information was wrong. Tell me your journey through this AI world. That's what I want to know. How are you making those critical thinking decisions? And for that, we have Sustainable Development Goals. ZenCap, if you've heard of ESDs, ZenCap 1, 2, 3. So, ESDs, Education for Sustainable Development. This was developed by Advantage Heat as a response to the fact that it was so difficult to make meaningful connections with the Sustainable Development Goals. How do I make clean water relevant to, well, I was going to say plant development, but obviously that's about plant nutrients. But you get the idea. How do I make it relevant to my subject? Do I just stick a label on it? What we have with the ESDs is different ways of thinking, anticipatory thinking. What would happen if you use that AI article in this way? Knowing it had false information, tell me as a human what would be the outcomes, the consequences. That's where we start thinking about shifting and flipping elements. It's going to take time. I'm not saying destroy the essay. There is an appropriate need for that. However, I'll speak to you about subject benchmarks later. We're seeing more and more specific reference of how you should teach AI and technology within your subject area. If you feel that the QAA still doesn't have teeth after losing its regulatory powers, there are still a lot of academics out there putting effort into giving us those benchmarks. We can either choose to ignore them or we can embrace them, and that's what I'll show you in the next session. I'm going to stop at that point. Yeah, questions?
So with this module one,
Yep.
this is likely because obviously every year if you're putting your module spec into AI, it's then stored everywhere. So then when people, like the students, can access your module spec,
Yep.
when they put their work in and say X, Y, and Z. So this is only stored in the house. So this isn't basically going out onto the big ether, is it?
No. Perfect question. Everything that we're working on is held within the university's estate. So if it's on SharePoint, it can then be brought into this. So what I've done here is pointing it at the Curriculum Tundra folder, which is internally, and saying that's where you need to go.
So you
One
could,
folder for all thousands of documents.
so you could hypothetically have one of these for a module chuck as a hypothetical 100 references in and say generate this work based off of this, and you know it's generate just using those 100. Is that what you're saying with this? It's only looking at what's in that folder only.
You could do it that way, yes. So you could have 100 documents, PDFs. This has a certain limit, but
Because all that is,
possibly, yeah.
I don't understand what this, all that's doing is basically stopping a click, isn't it? But I know
Advanced search.
Yeah.
Advanced search, and the results aren't just a file.
But that's coming from a point of truth, in that is something we as an institution store within our own institution, whereas you go into the big wide world of Google and it can be anything from in the world. And therefore, what Mike's saying is if we have, for an essay, 50 points of truth,
Yeah.
i.e. 50 journals that we know are real journals,
Yeah.
and we want to create an essay and say, we as a module leader can update that folder every year and say, right, your essay needs to be generated from here, because we know this is the point of truth.
Yeah.
As opposed to, don't go over here where a bazillion articles could feature in 90% of its space.
Yeah.
You could create it from here.
You could do that. So equally, a student could do the same thing, and that's the danger. A student could say, well, I've got a folder with all these resources, write the essay for me. You know what I'd say? We're asking the wrong question of the essay.
No, I just wondered whether if you had all the truth, you had all the things that you know, well, we don't know everything's factual, that's even published, but what I'm saying is if you had a lot more factual information, you could do other things from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for one thing, in AI language, it's called being grounded. So it's a grounded system, meaning that it's locked to a certain set of material to build off of. So all publishers are doing this with their stuff, like you, Gordon, or whatever. But you're absolutely right. If you say, look, students are just Googling stuff. They're asking questions that are good questions, they're relevant questions, but I want to make sure they're only getting answers from this. I think the question is, can we make an agent that says, put it on our Nile site and say, ask this one questions, and you'll know you're getting answers that would agree with what the stuff I'm teaching you.
You've been reading the agenda. You're going to see that demonstration from Kate.
But I think that's a good idea.
We are at time. Your time is wasting, but we are a little bit over.
We'll just go out slightly in terms of the break. So in terms of, on this theme of agents, so agents have been set up for specific purposes to Everyone in this room relatively recently would have received an update on the process about contacting non-submitting students and their non-submit, moving in their packs, then contacting them after 7 days to remind them of the imminent deadline and signpost to mitigating circumstances and assignment support resources, which is very time and labour intensive.
Yeah.
And an AI agent be set up to perform that role.
I'm not going to push it onto you, Scott, but why don't you do that as a use case with your license? You've just thought of a really great opportunity for us to do that time saving. You and I could then work on how might that look. Other parts of the institution and other areas are working on this, and we are working interdisciplinary. So if someone says, I want to do this because it's a function, and just 2 seconds, please. Agents and this license, I am trialing it because it's about the concept of looking how AI might work with a task. If we can't afford to carry on with Copilot, this is gone. But then it's down to us to then start working with computing, maybe build us an AI agent.
Because you're taking the human out of that process. So contacting those students that have failed so that we can have a conversation. You can automate the admin. But you're taking the active education out of it, we need to talk to them about it.
Yeah, which comes back to, at this point, it's not right for us to send those impersonal emails to the student. Yes, it might be laboursome, but that's not what we want. We want that. The demos they've said is that, you could put a poem up. You could have your email written as a poem. And I jokingly, in one of the conversations, someone said, I was dealing with a tricky situation in an email, and I stopped reading there and said, you should have tried it as a poem. That person then said, I was dealing with informing the student of the death of their father. Now, that's insensitive of me, but the fact the function exists, that someone might accidentally click on a very sensitive email and turn it into a poem, my God, no, I don't want AI to have that control. That's not the power. That's not what I want the power consumption to be. I want it to be in saving you time, effort. So it's really about the fact that I just wanted to show you, we've got Copilot is in there. It's there. Yeah, again.
Really quickly then, so with Scott's point, you just said to us that we would potentially have to make it up.
Yeah.
How many hours is that going to take us to make one up when actually the task might take, it might take an hour at the end of every module to send all those emails.
Yeah.
If it's going to take us 10 hours to write, there's no point in it. It's going to take 10 years to get the time done.
Oh, absolutely. So that's why I'm only telling you. It takes me over an hour to do something.
Yeah.
But I know it's going to save me huge amounts of time. But I'm not the only person who's used that module today. But it's replication. So if you've got an idea but don't have a license, and you say, Jim, can it do this? I'll build it for you. I will share it if we can, or I'll demo it to you. But that's the whole point. I'm not saying I'm not doing that. There might be another Copilot champion who is doing that. Can I put you two together?
I guess the biggest thing from that is, you just said to Scott, how can you make that? From my point of view, if you said that to me, I'll be like, oh, like.
Because are we back to sitting next to Nelly, or are we tapping into the tribe that's out there, the champions? I'm an amateur archaeologist, I'm wearing this t-shirt for a reason. I love the fact that quote was about Neanderthals. It's about sharing practice. The idea that you had Homo sapiens and Neanderthals who were separate tribes is absolute rubbish. I'm not going to swear, but I'm passionate about this. There's an interconnection. It's one person's brain, one person's talent, and why would we stop that? Why would we expect everyone in this room to get to exactly the same level of knowledge? There's going to be individual interpretations. That's about our inclusive abilities. The inclusivity framework that's coming out, I'm trying to build an app on that because I'm thinking, I don't know how to not sell it, but embed this in the conversations I have with staff. So if I can ask questions and queries of it, side by side, guide by the side was always a key thing. Because that way, we both learn together. I'm not saying I'm the expert. It's about the ideas and how we might formulate those. The same thing goes with the interpretation of the dashboards from ClipView. At the moment, you download the Excel spreadsheet, it's rubbish. The name doesn't relate to the inquiry. It doesn't show you the number of students, it just shows you percentages. So by building this kind of thing to look at that data and interpret it, I've uncovered a can of worms. I even had a message someone said yesterday, you love opening cans of worms, don't you? I've said back to them, yeah, because I read a book at school that was How to Eat Worms. I didn't realise it was a philosophy. Let's open those things, have those difficult conversations, get through. Sorry to anyone who has worm farm. It's not just any worms laying, but it's a metaphorical idea.
On that note, should we go to a break?
Let's go. There are no worms in that stuff. Okay, take me to the phone, Britain, and speak to me. Do you want to use your laptop?
Yeah, of course you can.
Sorry, it's back to me again. A couple of things I forgot to say. Rob Howe gave me a quote. Say, AI is the worst it will ever be. It's going to improve tomorrow, it's going to improve the next days. Just an important thing to think of, because then it links to, we are catching academic misconduct because of fake references. Copilot only uses reliable sources. So you can't use that as the only metric, because AI will now spit out valid references. We need to think differently about how we might be detecting AI. Okay? There is in the works, and I know it was a bit unpopular before, a new assignment brief, standardised assignment brief going to be sent out across the university. I told every single one of you that I could build an agent for you, where you upload your existing assignment brief, and then you show it the template and say, take the stuff from that, put it into there, and allow me to download it. And it takes 2 minutes. Would you be willing to engage me, indulge me, while we've got the chance to make this? That's where we are. I'm thinking on those levels. What is it that you are expected to do by an institution to save you time in this process? Because we might only have to do it once, but get rid of that agent. Doesn't matter, KPMG paid for it, they took it away, doesn't matter. Built in that efficiency. So, I'm going to talk briefly about subject benchmark statements. Then clap if you have read your latest subject benchmark statement. Set clap 1, 2, 3. Thank you for your honesty, those who didn't clap. It's okay. You, like your students, are time poor. Why would you need to do it? I am just going to demo something I manually created in a thing called H5P. Then clap if you've used H5P. Okay, about half and half, I'd say. For those of you who haven't, there are training sessions. I would advise you to go onto them or speak to the colleagues in your teams who have used it, just to get them to show you what they've done. What I did, because I knew staff were time poor, was to build this. It's not a bot, this was a manual process. I'm going to select area of focus, shout out if you recognise anything in there as far as earth science, environmental science. Is that okay? This has extracted the accessibility statement from that subject benchmark. We're going to have a focus within the team about how are we going to be more inclusive in our approach to teaching. The idea of this is to get into what are the statements about accessibility that we should be adhering to. I haven't now expected you to go through a link, spend time to sit down and read through the whole thing. I've just brought up that statement, give you 5 minutes to read it, let's have a discussion around this. How are we doing this? How are we aligning our course to this? But the same thing with quality, diversity and inclusion. Again, linking to the sustainable development goals. Oh my God, now the staff have to go off and become experts in the SDGs to understand how to make this make sense for the subject. Whereas actually what I'm trying to do is get us to a point at which you can ask an agent, tell me what I need to think about in the design of my course, in my modules, about making social impact, about how we align to the university strategy. Is there a statement within a certain subject area, such as sport, about improving healthy outcomes for people? So that was the work I did a while ago. It was about 1.5 years ago. And so what I'm going to show you now is the agent that does something slightly different. I had to load all of the subject benchmarks into the agent. I couldn't point it at a website, just say, off you go. I'm going to go back to the whiteboard. Sorry, I know I've only got 2 minutes. I don't want to keep you from lunch, unless it's okay to overrun a little bit. Just another someone built a policy document around academic misconduct. So you can ask it questions, is this plagiarism? And then put in the statement you've seen in the work, and it will look to the policy and tell you the particular details in it. As we build up a knowledge base on how to address those kind of academic misconduct around artificial intelligence, we can build that in. And that's only using information from the University of Northampton. So, I'll go back to the agency. I won't ask for a Zen clap, but I just want to give you an example of Microsoft Whiteboard. Anyone use Miro, Zen clap 1, 2, 3?
Very low.
You're allowed to. You're allowed to.
Very low.
But Whiteboard is like, oh, who uses Padlet? Zen clap 1, 2, 3.
Who's really uses Padlet?
So the idea is that you have the whiteboard, zoom in, you can navigate around, you can share things, you can collaborate, you can allow students to collaborate on this, you can put a box here that is group 1, please put any of your ideas or thoughts or images here, group 2. We already pay for this. We pay a lot for Padlet. I made a mistake of saying we could get this Padlet. I don't think we can, it's doing different things. But organising events, that kind of thing, we've got this whiteboard space. So now I'm going to go to you can just sign in. The reason why this is locked out is because at the moment only the people who have got a licence get access to this. Push would be for the university to invest in this, and then everyone will be able to get access to it. Again, this is why it's a concept. It's not a Jim's got a thing that no one could get access to, which is whether or not this would have use. So a link, I could send you a link in an email if we had the licenses. We'd be taken to this page, click on add. And now this has been trained on subject benchmark statements. If I type in ESDs, Education for Sustainable Development in, anyone fancy a subject area? Sport, just sport, yeah? Inquiry. Someone moves to the university who doesn't know what ESDs means, they can then come to this. And it's going to start providing them with some specific information. Okay? Promoting eco-friendly practices in sports facilities and events. Well, it's generic. Tell me more. We could now put in our context. What is a particular module? What's the topic for this week that we're teaching? Then we put that in there and see what is coming out. Is it about participation agendas? Is it about how you reduce the amount of waste at a certain event? Is it about what initiatives there might be? Again, at the moment, this isn't looking out to the web, but we can get it to do that as well. So if you wanted to say, bring me in 3 or 4 case studies of where sustainability, education and sustainable development has been relevant to sport, it can do that for you in a research and approach. I'm going to leave it there because it is lunchtime. I hope that was quick.
Not by lunchtime, we've got some staff.
Oh, sorry. Next up, talks. Who's next up? Are there any questions? Any questions? Please follow up. Any challenges? I think we had a challenge last year. I would love again to talk, not try to convince you, but try to understand. You might just talking through
on Davis or
yeah,
first of
that'd be wonderful if we can continue the dialogue. Yeah.
Can these agents be pointed to one super agent?
Yeah.
If I say, you know, can you link this to this module
can.
with us? So
Yeah, one that's only dealing with Word documents, one that's dealing with Excel, and one that says, right, generates a report from this Excel document, put into Word in chains. I've been asked whether or not it's an octopus. Is there a giant brain and lots of tentacles, or is it a school of fish? It seems to be a school of fish. However, that brain will know what you've inquired about before, so it will tailor things to be as a learning design. So it kind of puts out on your persona and says, actually, this is what's going to be most right? All right. So, one more question? Anything questions?
More of like that challenge. So with this, the continuous use of AI will potentially make us complacent in our jobs. Because eventually we'll just start snowballing into, oh, I'll just get AI to write the lesson plan for me, or I'll just get AI to answer this question for me. But we're not challenging ourselves within our jobs or using the knowledge that we've spent years kind of building up.
Yeah.
Because like, the more we use AI, the more we're going to rely on it, the less we're going to rely on our own knowledge and our own need to push ourselves further.
Yeah.
Teacher.
That's exactly why I'm wearing this t-shirt. As I say, I'm an archaeologist. The technologies that were introduced that helped develop humanity still had a human behind it. It still had those people who had to think, and the classic one I said the other day was the move from flint implements to bronze. Why should I bother to change? This thing has worked for years. Yeah, but this one's more efficient. And sometimes colours prettier. There's going to be people who say, I don't need it. Take my hat off. I don't need it today. I don't need to generate those pictures of cats. I don't need to do it. Get this done. And I don't want the institution to tell me you must do it in this way. At the same time, if I'm a Bronze Age salesman of bronze spheres and I come into your hand and say, look, it's not just shiny, it's stunning as well. People might start thinking, yeah, maybe I'll give that a go. It might be one or two people, and then I leave the village and then someone says, actually, should we have a chat about that? In our safe belongs bubble. I trust you more than I trust that guy who wears that silly hat. That's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Okay, thank you very much to Rob, Kelly, Jim and Chris. So thank you very much for that. It's nice to go from school to